swiveling his pawn in his hand. Bishop f3, goes in with the rook. Too strong. The position is just too good here. And is there any way to keep this going now? I think there's none. He goes here, bishop takes f3, rook takes, check. King here, rook h2, king here, rook check. And a draw has to be agreed. Can't do much. Wei is going to win this Armageddon here. And it's time for the Armageddon between Hikaru Nakamura and Wei here. And they shake hands. Hikaru with the white pieces opens with 1b3. He has 10 minutes and a must-win scenario. A draw is fine for Wei, but he has only 7 minutes on the clock. Hikaru's b3 did make Wei think for a bit. And now g3. Hikaru going for the double fianchetto here. g6. Wei in great confidence after beating none other than Magnus Carlsen in the previous round in the Armageddon. Knight comes out to f3. And pawn goes to c5. Bishop g2, bishop g7. So very simple development by white, getting the double fianchetto here. Black has actually managed to control the center a bit. Knight comes up. h5 by Wei. Whew. Wow, interesting move. He's trying to go for an attack, making use of the rook here. Will Hikaru kind of play h4 here? Yes, he does. He stops Wei's ideas. Now black castles here. The c5 pawn is some sort of a weakness. One must remember that this knight c3, knight a4 business which happens in the Nimzo Indian can become very powerful here. So Wei has to be careful about it. And he plays the move d4. Wow. Closing in the bishop's path, d3. Hikaru will try to put pressure on the c5 pawn. e5 played, knight comes out to d2. Also remember, taking this pawn on c6 is feasible but maybe not the best. Queen d6 played here. And now queen comes up to c2. And he pushes his pawn to a5. Rook a e1. And bishop to f5 is Wei trying for some e4 break. Bishop a3. Finally the pressure on c5 rising here. Rook a d8 played here by Wei. Oof. What's the point of this move? I'm not really sure. Rook d1 is just centralizing, yeah? Rook e8. Now e4. Could be possible. Not yet. Oh, the knight jumps in. Now, do you take here with the bishop or with the knight? Both look tempting. He takes with the knight, pawn takes. And now just drop the bishop back on c8 or... No, he goes to g4. Bishop c1 played here. You see the c5 pawn was weak, but there was not a single piece that could attack it apart from the bishop. So the bishop changes its plan. Wei playing on the queen side as well. 3 minutes 49 seconds. 7 minutes 40 for Hikaru. He takes the pawn on a4. And Wei plays rook to a8. f3 played. Now at this point white is a pawn up. But look at the quality of his pieces. The bishop on g2 looks pretty bad. The pawns look all mangled up on the queen side. f4. Hikaru is like, I'm going for the attack now. Good or bad, I need to win. He takes the pawn. And Hikaru is surprised here. Because I think he didn't expect this. Bishop takes f4. And maybe now just bishop e5. Getting rid of this. No, he goes queen d8. Wei is so calm, cool and composed. He's down to 3 minutes on the clock. He hasn't handled the clock particularly well. Hikaru has a 4-minute time lead now. And the bishop now settles down on the g4 square, attacking the rook. The rook comes up to d3. And queen comes up to a5. e5 played here. And he takes here. Rook takes on e3. The position has now equalized. Hikaru is back in the game. Should you take here? Queen takes a4 is the question. But after takes, the bishop takes c6 is going to lose out. So he goes rook e6, defending the c6 pawn. Wei has only 1 minute 52 seconds. He needs to make 13 more moves in the position. not an easy task by any stretch of imagination here. But Hikaru taking his time here. He has 6 minutes 40 seconds. He's trying to figure out what is the way in which he can play. We are now trying to keep it all real time here. Maybe there's queen f2, putting pressure on f7. You can also go rook b1, by the way. Oh, but rook b1, there's bishop f5, but I can block with bishop e4. So Hikaru plays his queen to f2, and Wei has to speed up now. But he can take on a4. Yes, he takes it. Is there some discovery here? Can the bishop move, putting pressure on f7? Hikaru needs to play quickly on his clock, because if he takes time, Wei is much better here now. Queen takes c4, another pawn bites the dust. King h2 played by Hikaru. And Wei very quickly centralizes his rook. One of the things about Wei is they're very good at kind of making these natural common sense moves. You know, if you see, the queen is also defending c4, f7. So maybe next idea is to chop off the pawn. Then rook takes, and the queen would defend the f7 pawn against the queen on f2. Way down to 1 minute 21 seconds. Rook goes to c1. You can see Hikaru. He doesn't care. He has 5.5 minutes on the clock. He's nodding his head. He's feeling the energy. Way down to 1 minute 10 seconds. Oof, the pressure is mounting. Pressure is mounting. Wei's position is great, but his clock time not so much. He takes it. He takes the pawn. Hikaru actually moving away from here was not great, but isn't rook takes c5 losing a piece here? Well, rook takes c5. There is this insane move, queen b6 pinning here, and Wei might have spotted it. Takes. Queen b6. Oh, exquisite. Exquisite. Beautiful. If bishop e5, rook e5. If rook takes e5, queen takes f2, rook e8, king g7. This is actually a great position for black, because the white king is weak here. So this is not just great calculation, but also great assessment of the final position. And Wei down to 58 seconds now. Hikaru has 5 minutes 23 seconds on his clock. And you can see Hikaru now rightly taking some time, because on one hand he can play rook c2. It's a move, but the queens get traded and he cannot win that position, you know. He would be a pawn down. But on the other hand, how does he keep the juice flowing in the position? Like queen c2, then there is bishop takes f4. And if you go rook e6, I have an intermezzo with a check, and then I pick up. So he goes rook c2, takes, and it's kind of unfortunate. But now Wei has 56 seconds to work this out. They are on move 36, so 1 second increment will begin in less than 4 moves. a4, and I think Wei can feel it that he will win this game. He's very close to it, you know, beating Carlsen first and then Hikaru in Armageddon. Maybe that just is insane, even more difficult than classical games, I would say. These two players are so good at speed chess. And look at Hikaru there. He knows that now it's difficult for him here. Pushes the pawn, rook a3. Now it's all about speed. Check. And yeah, if he wants to continue playing for a win, there's king f2. But I mean, there's no way. He's just going to play rook d2, rook d1. And yeah, you can see the famous Hikaru expressions here. Of course, he's unhappy. King f2 check, king f1. He wants to win. Rook b6, rook comes back. But now Wei is winning. Okay, maybe there's rook c2, but then there's bishop c6. Why not start with c5? He plays bd5. Aha. That's a smart move by Wei, who just needs a draw. And once you trade, pawn push, rook b2, a6. The pawn is going forward, but then check, and it is going to end in a draw there. Hikaru is smiling, not so happily there. He's unhappy with his position. He's shaking his head. Wei as calm as ever. He knows the victory is within his grasp. Swiveling his pawn in his hand. Bishop f3, goes in with the rook. Too strong, too strong. The position is just too good here. And is there any way to keep this going now? I think there's none. He goes here, bishop takes f3, rook takes, check, king here, rook h2, king here, rook check, and a draw has to be agreed. Can't do much. Wei is going to win this Armageddon here. And what nice play by Wei. Just amazing. And Hikaru is saying something to Wei there. Wei, whew. Well, this guy is a killer, yeah, on the board. He has now won 2 Armageddon games, one with Magnus, now with Hikaru, and surely he is not someone that you can underestimate in this format. And let's see how he does in his classical games. But for now, Wei is really on a roll here in Norway.